Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our program today. So, if you've been with us, what we do with our program is we take an individual film and we kind of sit down and have a conversation about it. We critique, we analyze, we talk a whole bunch of shit about the movie if it's a bad movie. But if it's a good movie, we're still going to talk some shit about it. That being said, we take films from all different decades and all different subgenres because we want to give you, our listeners, a kind of overview over all the different types of horror films out there for your pleasure to watch. So, without further ado, what I like to do is I bring in my special guest because I have a different special guest for every episode. And our special guest for today is Mr. Dave Watkins. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks for having me back on, man. I must point out you have a Prince of Darkness shirt on. That's great. Approve of that.
Yeah, it's Halloween. I'm trying to bring out some of those shirts I haven't worn in a long time because sometimes when I wear them during the non-Halloween season, people look at me strange.
You see that? Well, you see the one I got. You hadn't even noticed, but it's you got to do it like this. It's a Shining one, but it's like an overlook hotel.
Okay.
So you got to get ones that are subtle that nobody notices.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I can't be wearing my Suspiria one where there's people dead on the thing, or my zombie one, Lucio Fulci's zombie one. Yeah, I gotta stay away from those sometimes.
Yeah, you'll get several dirty looks in each location you go to wearing that. But
yeah, those stay hidden for most of the year except for Halloween.
Yeah.
As you all know, we are recording this during the month of October, although we may not be releasing this until much later, but that's okay. Because as fans of horror, we love to watch and talk about horror all through the year, and especially during October when we all sit down and watch and talk about a lot of different horror films. But the film we are talking about today is actually a really older horror film, and that is The Mummy's Hand from 1940, and it is celebrating its 60, 70, 85-year anniversary.
85, right? Yeah.
85.
Glad you did the math on that. So.
85 years. That's a long time, but it's
yeah. How do you? I vaguely remember when it first came out.
Shit, I didn't see this movie until probably 15 years ago me and you, Dave, have talked about this before when they did the Legacy DVD collections for this, the original Legacy ones. That's when I first saw this one. I'd seen the first one a billion times before, but the sequels were not played nearly as often on network TV.
So there's 5 sequels to really the Mummy, the first Mummy movie is a standalone movie, and then this is its own thing. And then there's 4 sequels to this.
Yep.
But we recently did the Mummy from the Hammer Mummy movie. And you see what I'm talking about now. The same stuff happens in it, kind of. But it's actually the Hammer Mummy movie is a combination of this one and the next one.
Yeah.
Even the third one, but because the main character in this is Stephen Bannon, who is the main character's dad from The Mummy, like Peter Cushing's character's dad from the Hammer movie. I think the 1958 one, that one. But
yeah, it's interesting. I think God that we watched the Hammer one and we critique that for our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. And then you mentioned all this, so for all you listening, if you haven't seen the Hammer version of The Mummy, or the sequel to that one, what you're getting is when Hammer did their version of The Mummy, or borrowing stuff from Universal's, which makes this a weird kind of family of related films. But that's interesting, and it's very cool when you sit down and realize that. Like, I didn't realize that until you mentioned it to me, Dave, and I had to think about that. It's like, oh, shit, you're right.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they do a good job with it in the Hammer one of taking these elements and they actually do a better job, I think. But at the same time, you got something, you're pulling from something somebody else did to begin with, and you're like looking at it and you're like, how can we take this and make it like probably more coherent? But they've got source material to draw from. It's not like they took it and made it up themselves. But they improved it. It's like they took a script and they condensed it in a way.
Yeah. But what's funny about this film is Steve Banning in this film. He's supposed to be our archaeologist, but to be honest with you, he doesn't seem nearly like a real seasoned archaeologist, but just someone who kind of finds it like a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I really like these characters. This one's a lot more comedic
Yes,
than the other ones. I do. They're almost got especially his friend,
Babe.
was Babe. Yeah, that guy. But Steve Bannon, played by Dick Foran, he's almost like a little bit of a straight man character to Babe Jensen, but at the same time, he's also kind of a little bit not quite, like you say, he's not quite qualified in some way. So it makes it kind of funny, the just interaction between those two, and then just them trying to find their way into this dig. They just happen to fall into stuff, but they have knowledge, but a lot of it is luck that they get into it.
Yeah, I will say a lot of it's luck because Steve, when they're in the market, Steve and Babe are in the market. They just come across a partially broken vase that just happens to be sold in the market, and the vendor's trying to get, what was it, 75, $85.
Yeah, yeah, but that must have been a lot of money from 1940,
I
though.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably like $500 to $800, I would think.
For a broken vase.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like you think they could have like got him down to like 5 or 20 or something, because he had a bunch of other ones that were like completely fine, and this one has a big hole in the middle of it.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of. It's funny to me.
Yeah,
You understand that the concept behind this is that from that Steve gets these clues that maybe this long lost tomb he's been searching for his entire career. He's found
yeah.
a clue to maybe finding it with his.
It's Anaka's tomb, like
Yeah.
Princess Anaka from we know from the Hammer film, but it's obviously this is the establishment of that character. Or it was actually doesn't even appear in the film, but that's the establishment of that idea of that character.
No, yeah, and the thing is, Steve takes it, spends all their last bit of money. That's why I say
Yeah,
it's funny because you kind of almost seem like they're like con artists because they've spent all their money and they're on their last dime, and
yeah,
they
yeah.
they spend it on this vase that may or may not lead them to this legendary tomb of Ananka. And we're just going with this because he goes to his friend. What was his friend's name?
Babe. What are you talking about?
No,
Oh,
the scientist that they go
the
to.
Dr. Petrie.
Dr.
Yeah,
Petrie. So they go to Dr. Petrie to kind of verify this vase because I guess Steve doesn't trust his own intuition and his own.
Well, I think he's going. Yeah, I think he trusts it. I think he knows once he sees it, but then he takes it to Dr. Petrie to confirm it, or either even more to get his help to get him to read what it says, because it says a lot. Apparently, on these pictures, it has a lot to say on there. So,
Yeah, their what do you call it? Their interpretation or their translation is a lot more than what you would think it would be. But it's cool. It's different, they've been searching for this tomb forever, and they've been in Egypt forever, and they haven't found any clues to anything. And even though you get an idea that Steve might be an archaeologist of some type, the idea that Babe is anything but like just a big friend is,
yeah,
he doesn't really seem to have like a job other than blowing stuff up. Like he's
yeah.
supposed to set up the explosives, but then it goes off on them before they're supposed to in the movie, and that's about his only job in the whole movie.
Well, he's comic relief.
He's comic relief.
Yeah, but I think he's a very likable guy. That even though he may not necessarily seem like he's doing that much, but he is one of those type of connection people that just connects people, and he's able to talk to people, and they go from one place to the next, and he just kind of brings people together in a way.
Oh, I love that actor Wallace Ford who plays him. He plays it
Yeah.
perfect in this movie, and even though he has only a little bit in the sequel, he's still great in the sequel as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love his character. He adds so much to this film. Part of the reason why I enjoy it is because of his comic timing and a lot of the stuff that's in this film. You're right. This movie is a much different tone than the original first one, and so it actually feels like more of an adventure than the first one as well. Less horror film, more like this comic adventure film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like they do that, in the Brendan Fraser mummy movies, where they
Mhm.
connect these characters like they do here in a comedic way. Like in that, it's like Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz's character, and then her brother.
Yeah.
Where in this one, it's a similar situation where they end up a character that's similar to Rachel Weisz's character named Marta Silvani. But before that, they meet her dad, who's also quite hilarious. He's a magician, and it's pretty impressive magician stuff he does. In because you're looking at it, it's not like necessarily cuts in the scene, and he does some pretty impressive gags on camera. But he's also a little bit of a con man himself.
Yeah.
But he's a lovable con man like the rest of them, and they go to him to get funding for the dig. And those four characters together, though, that's just like it's such a great, like, you got this thing where you got what you call like a young, like, was it you got like two children and a dad and a mom. That's kind of like how it's set up. Like you got the young child and the older child, and then you got the mom and the dad. Where we're here, where it's like Babe and her dad would be the two children, and then Steve Bannon and her are the parents in a way. Once those four characters get together, I like that type of dynamic though. It works really good.
No, you're absolutely right. Because Marta, like when she first comes on the scene, she's convinced by and everyone who's listening. Hopefully, you've seen this film, so that when we're talking about these characters' names and we're talking about sequences out of order, you're perfectly fine with that. But speaking about Marta, when Marta is convinced from Andoheb, who is the person who is supposed to be protecting the tomb of Ananka from outsiders, he goes to her to convince her that her father is being taken advantage of by Steve and Babe, and it's like hilarious because she's like takes her gun to go see them.
Yeah.
Gets their money
Yeah.
back, and it's like, okay, that's a bit extreme. So it has the parenting.
Yeah. She
Thing.
says yeah. She says it's a fake gun, but then she comes in there and puts a bunch of bullet holes in the door. It's like is it fake, or she says it's a prop gun, but I don't know.
I don't remember if she said that or not, to be honest with you.
Or she said that when she took it from her dad. She's like, "Oh, it's a prop gun anyway." But she comes in there. I think like the way they have her character structure would be like the father in this scenario,
Mm,
because of the way she takes charge a lot of times like that. And that's an interesting way. And this is a 1940 film with a character that like I think what happened in I guess maybe the 50s and 60s, like the women characters became a lot different. Before there's like definitely like a moment here where the women characters had more of an agenda, or
mm.
is agenda the right word? But but you do see that where they became kind of second to the men a lot of times. And this one, she is definitely trying to be in charge of the whole thing.
Yeah, and she wants to know what's going on. She's just not sitting back and waiting for everything to happen. At least not at first. She insists that she goes along with them because she doesn't want her father to be taken advantage of, and she doesn't trust Steve and Babe on this dig, which is a different dynamic instead of just being someone who's part of the dig and then just sitting there as window setting. Or I hate to say that,
Yeah,
but that happens a lot you're right, in some of
yeah,
these films where you have this female character who's supposed to be part of the team but doesn't actually do anything other
right,
than say
right.
she's part of the team.
Yeah,
Um,
she's better written in this one than a lot of the other ones. I guess we should back it up to the very first scene where, for the first like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, we're introduced to the
and
human villain, which is a really cool way to start the film. And you think that maybe at first he's the protagonist, that Anahib that you mentioned before, but he goes up to this temple. What do you make of those really weird these faces? It's almost like an Aztec temple, but it's
that's
obviously in Egypt. But
Yeah, I know. That's the same thing I got.
yeah,
I got the impression that this was kind of an Aztec type of ambiance because this temple isn't like hidden, even though when you're watching the movie, it's supposed to be hidden because it's on the other side of where Steve and them are actually digging. So it doesn't really make sense that on one side you can see all this elaborate stuff, and on the other side, it's nothing but a mountain of which they have to dig and blow up stuff to get an entrance to. It seems very odd to me. I think it's cool. It looks cool as shit, but it's
yeah, it does. It's like at first I'm just like, what is going on with these faces and all
but
that?
but it's a great setup for the beginning of the film. We're literally seeing this guy who we learn eventually is Andahib, who is coming to this temple because he's been called. He's been called to service, so to speak, from the high priest. And their entire job is to do nothing but protect and sustain and protect Karis. I almost forgot his freaking name.
Karis the mummy. Yeah.
Karis the mummy, because even though he is our bad guy, they have to keep him alive. And they explain the rules. I like this. I forgot they explain the rules.
The rules are like really, really
specific.
Yeah. There's
3 Tana leaves. Well, okay, so Tana leaves no longer exist, but they have an abundance of them that they've been protecting for years and years. Like
I was looking into it. Apparently, Tana leaves were made up for the film, but it is something that preserves mummies or brings them back to life.
Three of them preserves them. So he has to feed the Tana, this fluid that's produced by 3 Tana leaves to him every full moon. But to awaken him, you use 9 Tana leaves. And if you use more than 9 Tana leaves, it will drive him mad and uncontrollable.
That's great though. It's the rules are so hilarious to me. It's just like 3, 9, and 3 and 9 are fine, but after that you don't know what's going to happen.
It's hilarious. It made me realize the rules for the Mogwais and Gremlins and shit. Don't get them next to water. Don't feed them after midnight. I was like, these are some ridiculous rules until you see what happens. But yes. That's what he's told, and then of course the original high priest dies, and then Andahib becomes the high priest, and we don't realize how he's going to fit in this entire story until later.
It's funny when he dies though, because he has his big. But also he does tell a story about Karis and the princess, but just before when he dies, he's like, I'm going to die, and then he dies. He tells him he's going to die. He's like, I'm dying right now, and he tells the story. He basically anoints him the next high priest.
Yes.
And that is what kills him. But maybe that is what kills him, because that's what happens again in the next one. But
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. Maybe like once you give that power away, maybe that power's sustaining him, making him stay alive. And then once he takes the necklace off, or what I think it's a necklace, he hands it to the other guy. Maybe that is what kills him. That's why he dies. At first I thought it was just hilarious. He's like, just die. But then now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it's probably removal of the necklace and handing over the power.
Yeah, because his life has probably been extended longer than normal as a high priest. I'm thinking. They don't.
Yeah. No, I think that is the case. Otherwise, it's hilarious that he just dies.
Well, it's hilarious to us now. I wonder how people in 1940, when they first saw this, actually took all that type of stuff.
It's like Yoda dying in the Return of the Jedi,
Oh Jesus! Don't let me think that George Lucas was borrowing from this movie when he came up with all that stuff.
But that backstory is also the same backstory that's told in the Hammer film, where it sets up like the Karis, who was in love with Princess Ananka, and he tried to bring her back to life with the Tana leaves here, and they catch him, and then they turn him into a mummy. And that's how he's in the tomb. But it actually shows a flashback pretty close to the beginning of this film, where usually they don't do it so close to the beginning, but they do it right away almost.
Well, and then even in the sequel, they kind of redo the entire story for the audience if you've never seen the previous ones.
I'm not sure if they did that for the audience or if they did it just to make up more time in the movie so they didn't have to shoot as much stuff.
I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yes.
I'm since they didn't have TVs. Everyone didn't have TVs, and everyone didn't have what do you call it, DVDs and stuff in 1940s. I believe that's part of what they did for sequels. So if you never saw the original, the previous one at the theater, you didn't need to.
Yeah.
because you could only really catch these movies when they were on re-release.
Right. That's a good point. I got lots of stuff to say about that one when we talk about it, but
They do a good job of trying to separate this movie completely from the first one. Like you don't have to have watched the first one to get this one at all.
It's not connected to
No.
it. It's not the same type of mummy. Now, that's the thing about this mummy, and like the Boris Karloff mummy, who heals and he starts talking and he eventually becomes almost human. This mummy stays a mummy,
Hmm.
and he does throughout all the films. And this is your Halloween mummy, the one that you know from Halloween, and the one that just is like a mummy. Unlike the first mummy, who is in control, this mummy is being controlled by somebody else typically, unless you feed him over 9 of the Tana leaves, and then it's like berserk. So
Yep. So now that we've told everyone the makeup of the story, and we've already told a little bit about the actual Steve and
Stephen
Babe.
Babe.
It should be
Yeah.
easy to remember Babe's name. Steve and Babe, who have now convinced so Salvini? Yeah, Salvini.
Yes, yeah.
Salvini and his daughter Marta to help finance their expedition to Ananka's tomb. They don't find Ananka right off the bat. They end up finding Karis's tomb. And I actually like the fact that they find that tomb because they're thinking they were going to find a female, and they're all shocked when they find
Yeah.
Karis, who's a male, in a unmarked tomb, so to speak. Or I can't remember what it said on the outside, but they're not expecting to find him in
Right.
that one.
It's like a
Uh,
it's like
you
some kind
remember?
of door. There's some kind of door on the
Yeah,
outside that they're able to open, and it shows it again in the next movie. So I don't know.
yeah. I forgot to. Yeah.
It's
But
like a door thing.
yeah, it looks like a door thing, but it's not like the real tomb they've been looking for. That's because we learned that that's on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah. You know, there's some pretty cool sets in this movie, in especially in comparison. And the Hammer stuff looks good, but some of these sets, the tomb sets, a lot more elaborate than the Hammer sets. That I think the budget was higher for this one than the Hammer stuff.
You think so?
I mean, yeah, especially because of that really big thing. It's like some kind
Ananka's
of
tomb?
really, yeah. It's
Yeah,
a really, yeah. I mean, some of them look pretty impressive. Not that the Hammer stuff wasn't impressive. They did some cool stuff with the lighting, but here I think they look bigger to me in this one. Like you see more stuff.
yeah. No, you get a sense when you walk in. Even the tomb for Karis, his tomb looks a lot bigger than what you're expecting it to be because he's the outcast and he's buried to just protect everything. Um, but it's a lot bigger than you would expect because there is a passageway from that tomb to Ananka's tomb, which is on the other side of the mountain. Um, and you figure out the characters figure this out throughout the story. It's not a very complicated story. Because in 1940s, what you really want to do is you want to see the mummy, and the mummy does get up and kill people in this movie. Unlike in the previous movie, where the mummy's only in there for a small fraction of the time, and then it's a very good makeup on Boris Karloff. This one, the mummy is the mummy the whole time.
So this movie is an hour and 6 minutes long.
Hmm.
About 30 minutes in is when they make the journey to the tomb. So the first 30 minutes, which for almost half of the film, is exposition, but it also is adventure too. But yeah, one thing we didn't mention, I think is hilarious. They're in this bar, and then there's like a fight scene. I think the villain like they makes a fight happen. Like this one guy walks over there and like intentionally falls on their table, and there's like this huge fight, and they have to escape out a window. But that's a hilarious fight though.
Like I said, an adventure
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
You
yeah.
wouldn't have seen in your typical mummy movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right, it's like a venture, almost like a western type of fight. The whole friggin' bar is fighting. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
But-
And it is hilarious because I think the Salvini and Babe sneak out the window. The
Yeah,
window.
yeah. Well, they have to get Sylvani, who's like an older dude. They got to get him out of there. He's the one with the money too, so they got to get him out of there. You know.
Yeah, because it's and the Heeb and the so we kind of didn't mention if you haven't seen the movie that when Steve and Babe are in the market when they find the vase, there's a beggar in that scene who is acolyte for Andahib and the High Priest.
They recognize him later, like from seeing him for like 2 seconds earlier in the film.
Yeah,
they're like, "Hey, that's that beggar from earlier." Like,
yeah.
you know,
he shows up throughout the entire film, always watching Steve and Babe, like a cult member would do. And so you see him throughout the whole thing, and he instigates stuff like the bar fight and other stuff throughout the whole film. The whole idea is that, and he becomes an antagonist later on when he actually starts to interact with the characters before his untimely demise.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that it's not just Andahib there. He's a high priest, but as a high priest in this film, he also has the acolyte that does whatever his bidding is, and that's the beggar. So
you're right. He Andahib also wears a fez, which is pretty cool. Like in these mummy movies, he's similar to the character Mohammed Bey from the Hammer film. There's actually a character called that in the next film. Yeah. But he's like he's a similar character where he's really the main human antagonist in these type of in the Karras films.
It's interesting that for these films, it's really about Andahib and the High Priest protecting Ananka and their way of life from outsiders. And so before their tomb is even desecrated, Andahib is trying to get them to go off into a different direction. They first meet Andahib when Peachtree tries to go and get his theories finally approved by the premier person who knows everything about Egyptology, and that was Andahib. They don't know he's the high priest. They just think he's a scholar person. And of course, Andahib decides that he's not going to lead them in the right direction. He's going to mislead them. So he's actually trying to save them and not get them involved, because he knows that if they do look for Ananka's tomb, he will have to deal with them. He would rather not have to deal with that, but no one listens.
That scene where he's reintroduced after you see him in the first scene, and the high priest hangs out in that cave all the time. This Andahib is a professor, and he goes to this institution, plus hangs out in the cave. But when it first reintroduces him, it's got a really cool shot, like the back of his head, and he turns around. He's got like a monocle on his eye.
Yeah, I love that shot. It's really cool, and it's a great introduction for the audience. It's like, shit.
It's like, yeah, there's that guy we saw earlier.
Because your impression is that once he becomes a high priest, that he'd be in that cave. That would be how he protects the secrets. Their secrets is by being in that cave, that temple. But no, that's not really it.
I feel like him being out though really is what screws up everything, because he falls in love with the girl, and he changes the plan. That's kind of what messes up the whole him watching the mummy.
Yeah,
I think he's supposed to stay in the cave and not go out. Yeah, I think so. I
don't know, to be honest with you. But I do know that the complications with Andahib falling for Martha, I think, is contrived. It's also contrived in the sequel as well. Sequel to the film to this as well. It's much more funny when it happens for a second time with the second bad character in that movie. But in this character, it seems contrived. It's like your goals were being met, and then you decide that you need to have an immortal bride, and just happens to be the other woman, your antagonist love interest. Yeah, that's just me. So yeah, that's just
yeah. I mean, it's a little convenient, but they kind of do that in the other one too. These high priestess always think that they're gonna like go after this girl and somehow like get her, and it never seems to work out. They just think they're gonna. Maybe if they're able to go through with their ceremony and not get stopped, maybe it would have worked. Some kind of magical. I guess that's the kind of magic that they think is going to work, but the women never seem that interested in it. But they're convinced it's going to work out. So
yeah. But then again, even it even seems a little contrived in this film when Martha falls for Steve, But we don't know how long they've been out there digging in the desert before they actually come up to the grave and finding cars.
I think, but I think that there's something different about that dynamic because of the way she comes in with a gun, like you're talking about earlier. Like she just
Yeah.
like she's seeing these two calm men who are just going to be like in her head, she's thinking these are going to be two low life sons of bitches, and then he steps into the room and it's like almost like a completely different perception of what she thought the guy was going to look like, and he acts completely different than what she was expecting. He's like, oh wow, he's rather charming and good looking. So it's,
I guess you could say it with Steve. Steve is the good-looking one, whereas Babe is the best friend slash comic relief.
but she's immediately like at that point it's more of a like she sees him and it's like oh wait a minute
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
which is a I mean that happens in a lot of films. This is an earlier version of that sort of thing happening. Once the main character walks in and sees the main actress, it's like there's a connection and that kind of happens there.
yeah. Yeah. So once we get to that, and what happens is that they found the tomb, they found cars, and they're trying to figure out why there is a man in this tomb. Petrie is examining everything in the tomb by himself. I can't remember why Steve left, but there was Steve was
Well, yeah, he had to get out of there so like the Petrie could be by himself to get
yeah.
killed. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to figure. There was a reason why, but yes, Petrie's by himself, and Andahib comes up behind him. I like this scene here because
yeah,
Andahib comes up behind him, and he doesn't like immediately kill him for desecrating the tomb. He goes up to Petrie and actually decides to show him the truth of what he was searching for. So he takes him to Karras, who's been lied out on flat now on a table, and tells him to take his pulse, and he realizes that Karras has a deep pulse, and he shouldn't because he's supposed to be over 2,000 years old. And then
yeah. And like, of course, nobody's going to bother to check him because they're just assume that he's dead, and there's no reason to think that he has a pulse.
no, no. What's cool is that then Andahib brings out the vial with the tana leaves in it, and he pours it into Karras's mouth, and Petrie is just still just feeling that pulse, and all of a sudden he gets faster and faster and faster, and he's like, "Whoa, what the hell? He's alive!" But before he can react, Karras is alive, and Karras grabs him by the arm, and then what Karras does is, he kills everybody. So he ends up killing Petrie, and Petrie becomes one of our first victims right there, because by the time his scream is heard by the rest of the team, and they're running in, Karras and Andahib are gone. We don't know how they're gone so fast, at least not yet, but they're gone. They vanished. We eventually find out that no, they go through the secret tunnel that leads them from that tomb to Ananka's tomb, and that's how they escape so fast. But it's really cool the way that they did that whole setup, because it could have easily been Andahib raises Karras, and Karras just kills Petrie. But they did this whole really cool sequence of revealing everything and
Yeah,
reestablishing the rules as well. Because he tells the funny thing is Andahib tells him Petrie, what he's doing, but then he says, but it wouldn't mean anything to you because
yeah,
he doesn't know the rules.
yeah. Right. And it's yeah, that is a cool sequence. I think it's to him showing him that he's kind of like seems to be really enjoying showing him it and, yeah,
Yeah.
and then killing him because he's kind of mad that they've gotten in there to begin with.
See, I wasn't sure how that flows because the thing is, Petrie and Andahib in the academic world probably good were at one point good friends and everything like that. And then, of course, he's forced to kill him because they entered the tomb.
Yeah.
Which you could. He doesn't really play it as though he's sympathetic to having killing someone he already knows. Obviously, he plays it because you entered this tomb and now you must die, type of thing. Instead of, "Oh man, I'm sorry you entered the tomb. I know we know each other for a long time, but I gotta kill you, man, because you entered my tomb."
Right. Yeah,
So
he never seems very friendly in any of the other scenes to anybody.
no,
He's always like a dick, you
he's
know?
like a professor.
Yeah.
Professors who know too much or think they know more than everyone else, they all
Yeah.
think they're dicks.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Remember that there's like that scene though when they first talking to him and they gave him the vase with the broken vase that has the Egyptian like hieroglyphics and he looks at it, he's like, "Oh, this is a fraud. This is fake." And a few minutes later, he acts like he accidentally drops it. He's like, "Oops." But but actually, the actor does a good job in the scene. Like not he drops it on purpose, but then he makes it look like he did it on accident and offers to pay for it and everything. But it's
$75
yeah
or $85, however much they paid for.
yeah. I think it's probably priceless.
And then, of course, from then on, it's like you said before, at 30 minutes for them to get to the camp. But from then to the last 36 minutes of the movie, because it's so short, it goes fast.
Yeah.
The movie goes fast. Karis is not left to his own devices. He starts killing people really fast because Andahib has the beggar put vials of the Tannis fluid into the tents of the people so that Karis can find them and kill whoever's tent that he finds the vials in. I thought that was a really interesting concept. Karis is not just being told to kill people, and he's not like tempted by just the people who enter the tomb. He's being directed there mostly because of the Tannis leaf fluid.
Right.
So he could literally kill anybody, unlike in some of the other mummy type stories where he's literally just going after people who deserve the curse of the mummy.
Yeah. But like on the other ones, it's like in the Hammer ones, he's brought back with a scroll and then in a medallion in the next one. So the Tana leaves. I don't know. What do you think about the Tana leaves?
Since I saw these movies before I saw the Hammer ones, I always assumed that this was like silver bullets for werewolves.
Yeah. I guess it kind of works, but it's kind of like I don't know. I mean, I saw them earlier too, but I'd forgotten about the Tana leaves until I was rewatching them. I was like thinking like I was ready for a scroll or something, which to me makes more sense. And and scrolls have lasted longer with the mummy, like the idea of the mummy. But it's definitely did the first mummy have a scroll in it, like the original mummy with Boris Karloff?
I think so. I think
he had like it was some kind of tablet or something that brought him back though.
Yeah, because I think he dies with that in his hand, just like they did in the Hammer movie. He dies with whatever brought him back to life, so that there wouldn't be a sequel type thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of creative. The Tana leaves, but I definitely wasn't expecting them. At first, I'm like, "What is this?" Like he pulls out the drawer full of Tana leaves. He's like, "Look what I got." He's like, and it's just like, "What? Okay, what's that?" Leaves in the drawer.
Leaves that never crumble up and die. That's the thing.
You're like 3,000 years old and they're still cool. But,
yeah. Just like the ones in the urn in Karis' tomb. Whole few urns filled with Tana leaves at one moment, and then the next moment it's completely empty. Well, it is a different. I don't think anyone's ever used that before because that's not even with any of the more modern mummy movies either. It was just something for these mummy sequels, I believe.
Right.
It was unique. It was different, and I guess that's one of the aspects of the mummy mythos that they didn't decide to carry on to other movies. Someone I'm sure thought it was hokey.
Yeah, I mean the same reason I think we just said is because they wouldn't have lasted that long. I don't think because if they're 3,000 years old, they would have crumbled. Of course,
no one's watering these plants. If they were like full Tannis plants there, I would say okay, that's a different story. But there's no plants there. It's just leaves. They should have crumbled up long ago in dust.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's different, and we'll see how it goes. Because I can't.
Right.
Watching these movies as we're talking about them, and the ones I haven't watched a whole lot are like I think the last two. So yeah.
So the Ghost of the Mummy and something else with the Mummy, but this
5 of them. So
yeah. It's crazy how there's 5 of them. That's like more than most of the other Universal films having that many of them.
Mummy's always been popular. No matter what generation of movies, Mummy's always been popular. Go figure.
So that mummy kills another guy eventually, and then one thing I thought was weird when the Petrie gets killed, they're not like that broken up about it. Like the main characters, he seems like one of their pals, and then they're still like a little bit upset about it, but not like as much. They're still kind of playing really light, like it's still like a romantic comedy buddy film for and even like there's even some more flirtatious scenes between the main character and Marta, and there's like she's like tells him he's such a nice guy and then kisses him and runs in the tent. So
Yeah.
so there's all that going on when he is being a nice guy and he's saying they want to get them out of there. He wants to get her and her dad out of there and then come back and do more exploring. But he wants them to be safe.
Yeah.
But I thought it was weird that he wasn't that concerned about Petrie dying. Like the guy who's there, it seemed to be his friend.
Well, I think that's after. Is his name Ali?
Yeah, and then Ali.
So
Yeah.
Ali, who is the one local who doesn't run away after they open the tomb, he's the second person who dies in the film due to the fact that the beggar puts the vial in one of their tents. But Ali, who's on guard, notices something's amiss, and he notices something is not right. So he goes into the tent where the beggar put the vial, and he comes across the vial. But before he can do anything, the mummy shows up and kills him. And then, of course, it is only when Salvini and Marla go to sleep that they come across his body. So now it's two of them dead. And it's funny because the next scene after that is them at the campfire.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I mean, I think it like you have to like when you're watching it, you don't necessarily think it, but just thinking about it, but that's the way this movie is played. It's played a lot for lightness and so they even do that in the next one, which we'll talk about later. But they do that a little bit in that one too, where people get killed and they just don't give a shit that much about it.
Mm.
It's like okay, that was a plot beat. On to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, also, I think, and I have to go back and look at my research in regards to when these movies were released and the audience that they were for. It's like I still get the impression that these are for a young audience, double bills with mostly kids and stuff. So they're not. None of the deaths are really on scene, and none of them are gory or violent or any of that stuff. They're very. They're nothing like what we saw in the Hammer's version of the Mummy at all. And we commented about how violent Curse of the Mummy.
Yeah. This movie is right on the cusp of World War II is when it was made, so it's kind of an interesting time as well. But there is that lightness to it, which I do like it, and I like the way they brought that to the Mummy with Brendan Fraser, which is kind of a similar type of lightness, but there's just a few instances where it's almost like that. I guess he kind of wasn't necessarily that connected to that professor character that dies, but at the same time, he does want to get out of there, but they're still kind of not as worried about it as they should be.
Yeah, and that allows us not to have to watch scenes where they're burying people because we don't know what happens to Petrie or Ollie's body, and it doesn't really matter.
No. I doubt they buried them though, because they'd have to bury it. It'd take like all night.
Yeah, so they put them off somewhere to the side, and they'll deal with it later. And I'm trying to remember when. So I think this is where at the campfire, Salvini is trying to show Babe a magic trick.
Yeah. Right.
Which is they're at the campfire doing a magic trick. And and Babe can't figure out these magic tricks. So this is a running gag. There's several scenes like this where Salvini does these little magic tricks with Babe at Babe's expense. And then this one happens to roll out before Salvini and Martha decide it's time for bed. Like I said, this movie goes by really fast. Everyone who's listening, it goes by really fast because they go into their tent and they more or less go to bed. But the mummy has been sent again to go enact its vengeance.
Well, no, actually, he doesn't send it for revenge because he's fallen in love with the girl, and he sends it specifically to get her.
Get her, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He sends it to get her this time, to get her. But he goes, and this is the reason why Salvini isn't killed, but kind of just incapacitated when Kara's first enters their tent.
Yeah.
He enters her tent, immobilizes Sylvanie, and then has the time to take and abduct Martha. Of course, she screams like a typical young lady in these movies. She screams, and everyone comes running. And Steve is just in time to see the mummy dragging Martha up the side of the mountain back towards his tomb. And it just goes by real fast for everyone out there because then it's a chase kind of movie. Steve and Babe are chasing after the mummy who goes into his own tomb, but then they can't find him. He's disappeared. And then, of course, Babe is instructed to go around to the other side of the mountain to find an entrance to the other tomb, whereas Steve is trying to figure out where the entrance is to the tomb, Ananka's tomb, from Karis's tomb. And it comes across a broken plate or vase or something else in the tomb, and he puts it together, and he sees the image that was on the vase that he had.
Oh, yeah.
And
he remembered all that pretty good.
He remembers all that.
Yeah.
So he remembers the images and said, "There's the entrance right there. I see it."
Yeah.
I see it. And then he finds the entrance, which is right behind Karis's coffin, sarcophagus.
Yeah. Right. It was there the whole time.
It was there the whole time.
Yeah. Because you think they'd be interested in that sarcophagus. I mean, I guess that one's just a box. They actually say it's a box.
Yeah, they say it's a box.
They're not that impressed with it.
Yeah, it's not an impressive sarcophagus at all. It's more like a box. Nothing in Karis's tomb is impressive at all, which is what bugs them in the film.
Yeah.
They come in there and it's not what they're expecting, which is how they know that it wasn't someone of great importance like Ananka.
Yeah, like royalty.
He has to have some type of connection to be in the spot where Ananka's tomb is supposed to be. So these are some of the details that come up in conversation as the characters talk to one another.
I'd say he's like a very well preserved mummy too.
Yeah. You think that that would have been the first thing they really noticed. Damn, this guy's really well preserved for almost 2,000, 3,000 years old. Good God.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus. I don't really care for the whole Andahib trying to have his girlfriend with Marta, and it seems so. Everything goes to shit once he decides to do that. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, they're trying to make him. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of changes it up from the mummy killing everybody to suddenly the mummy kidnaps Marta, and he's trying to turn her into the high priestess, like they do in these.
I like the original high priest didn't have no high priestess. Why do you think you need a high priestess?
Yeah. I mean, that's because that guy stayed in the cave the whole time. I don't think that guy ever left.
Oh, no, but then this is when we get to really see Ananka's tomb, and it's really fucking elaborate and really cool. It's a great set, and like you were saying earlier, it's a very big set.
Yeah, it's pretty. It looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's the way the tomb should be for what Steve and Babe would have expected from Ananka's tomb. And we get to see it for like the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie, if that.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Yeah, because Andahib is trying. It has Martha tied up, trying to feed her the Tana leaves, so that he can make her immortal. And
yeah, it gets a little contrived all of a sudden there at that point. Yeah.
Let's feed her the fluid that's because the Tana leaves is, in theory, is keeping the mummy alive. It should keep her alive after death, and it makes her immortal as well. In theory. And
it also make her in love with the high priestess.
Yeah,
is what he thinks for no reason. That wasn't even one of the rules the old guy at the beginning told him. So he's making up his own rules.
He knows how this stuff works, and he's just making up his own rules. It's ludicrous, but it's fun to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And only like the last 10, 15 minutes that we hear stuff like this happening, anyways. Was it Andahib hears Babe outside the temple and then leaves to go outside the temple and confront Babe, who's right on the right side of the team now. So he sees everything we saw at the very beginning when Andy Heap first shows up to meet the High Priestess.
Yeah,
I'm saying priestess, High Priest. So it's like, oh yeah. So, but you're still wondering how one side of this mountain could be like a desert with a small little door to Kharis' tomb, and then the other side of the mountain is this really elaborate Aztec-looking ruins. You just have to go with the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't think to go. I mean, you wouldn't think to go over the whole mountain. I mean, that would be quite a thing. Too bad they didn't have drones. They could have just flew a drone up there and figured it out.
Oh Jesus! What's funny is that Babe is so funny because he just doesn't want to have anything to do with Andy Heap, so he just shoots him. He shoots him, and then Andy Heap's body falls down the steps all the way down to the bottom, and we think he's dead. It's still hilarious. It's and inside the tomb, obviously, Steve has gone through the passageway from Kharis' tomb and into Ananka's tomb, and then he sees Marla tied up, and he has to save her. But then, we have a mummy to deal with now.
Yeah, I think at that point the mummy's already had over 9 of the Tana leaves too, right? I'm pretty sure he has because he's seems to be more out of control than normally at that point.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. The funny thing is how do you count the 9 Tana leaves? Do you count them over 9 Tana leaves in the same instance, instance, or like the day, or because the beggar is has just been putting these vials out, and he's been taking the vials, and then of course when Steve tries to save Marla, the only thing Marla says, "Don't let him get the Tana leaves." I'm like, so you have a crazy mummy? Yeah, it's better than having the same mummy, right?
That's right, because at that point he takes the Tana leaves. He's trying to get it. That's right. And he busted on the ground, and then there's more over there in the burner, and he knocks that whole thing over. The mummy's like a crackhead on the ground trying to lick the Tana leaves off the ground.
I always found that scene hilarious. I always that's so funny. The mummy only, and that's the other thing. The mummy only really cares about his Tana leaf fluid. Like, he doesn't have any other.
Yeah, he's like a drug addict in this one.
Like a drug addict.
Yeah,
exactly. He's like a drug addict. That's and he's on the Tana leaves, the new fluid that's more than 9 leaves is falling on the floor. You see the puddle of it just dripping in the cracks of the floor, and he's on that floor on his hands and knees just licking it up. I was like, dude.
It was something the mummy looks pretty cool though in this one when you see his face. There's something about his eyes that they don't carry into the next one. It's played by a different actor, Lon Chaney, and the other ones. This actor, actually, I like this actor better than what Lon Chaney does. But his face and his eyes look crazy for some reason. It's almost like his eyes there's some kind of special effect on them almost.
Yeah, because they're deep black.
It's almost like I don't know if it was done practically or if they were somehow did that in post. I don't know, but it looks like the few times you see it, it is like you don't see his eyes very good.
No, I agree with you. I like the makeup and look of the mummy in this film, and I wish I knew why they switched up to Lon Chaney Jr.
I like Lon Chaney Jr. I think that. But he just doesn't work as the mummy.
Yeah.
He's great as the Wolfman or even like a sympathetic character. Like he does a very good sympathetic Wolfman, but not that he sucks as the mummy. I just think that this guy fitted a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They probably just switched him because it's Lon Chaney Jr. I know he had like some kind of contract with the studio, and they were like, okay. But not only did they switch him, they give him top billing in all the films after this one. The mummy's billed really far down, like 5th or 6th. It's like Tom Tyler's the actor that played him, but in this one,
and I like him more.
I
like him more, and I like Lon Chaney Jr. in a lot of films. Don't get me wrong, I love Lon Chaney Jr. in a lot of films. Wolfman and Spider Baby, and there's a ton of ones I love them in. I just like Tom Tyler in this one. I think the look is much better. And he kind of disappears into the makeup of this film, in my opinion. Whereas Lon Chaney, when I see him in the next movie, he damn it, that's Lon Chaney.
Yeah. He's like, a mummy's supposed to be skinny too. So
I
it's
didn't want to
like,
say that out loud. You said it. You said it for me though.
but I mean, I feel like Lon Chaney Jr. was completely wasted in the mummy role, though. It's like I kind of felt that at first about Christopher Lee, but I really like the more I think about the way Christopher Lee does the mummy in his mummy movie. That's one of my favorite bandaged mummy performances. But it is almost wasted though because you got like such a great actor just going around like a zombie in bandages.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
And then what else? Oh, I forgot. Martha has convinced Steve that not to let Karis get any more tunnel leaves, and then Steve goes over there and puts him on fire.
yeah, you got to burn it. There's got to be some fire.
Yeah, there's got to be. We mentioned this. There's got to be some fire in these horror movies. There's always got to be fire somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because you think that this guy is going up in flames, and there's no way that he's going to survive for a sequel. But because of the way they shot it, the way it looks, it's like, oh shit, he's going to be burned to a crisp in like 5 minutes from now. He ain't going to be nothing but ashes.
He knows how to stop, drop, and roll. Apparently. It's all those videos in high school, I guess.
But yeah, I'm trying to remember what the heck happens after that? Is it just at the end, or there's another scene, right? Oh yes, there is another scene.
Well, the tube starts to collapse at that point.
Yeah, and then everyone gets out, and of course I'm trying to remember how there's a scene.
There's like some like sweet embrace between the main characters, and then I think Babe says something goofy. But I mean, it doesn't seem as like sometimes these things seem like they just suddenly end. It does seem like a more of a natural type of ending. That the tombs.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, it is unfortunate that we are unable to present the original ending to the show, which had the ratings for the show and everything else. But from all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we still hope that you've enjoyed this program and you've enjoyed this episode. And please make sure to check out our other episodes in our show and the rest of our continuing coverage of the Mummy franchise. And make sure to check out previous episodes of our program, as well as our updated and new program, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope you enjoyed this program and that you have a pleasant day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.